Mary always miscounts. And so I'd like to go ahead and start because I think there's a number of items that are purely information and not procedural in terms of votes. And so I would like to, should we go with financial update first, Davey? Or, well, first of all, I want to say, I know that there's an agenda item for Friendsgiving event, but I just wanted to thank Crystal and Kathy and the entire staff and Davey for a wonderful, wonderful evening at the farmer's market and for MHRC. It was great to see us shine and y'all really do an amazing job. So it was spectacular. So thank you. Gratefulness to all of you. I just wanted to let staff know that and the commissioners for your support in these endeavors. But let's start. Do you just want to do the financial update, E.D. Tucker, and then we'll move accordingly?
Crystal is out, and I was trying to see how long it would take to print it. So I do not have it, but it is not materially changed from last month.
Okay.
If you want to move it to the end, we can actually get a copy of it.
Okay.
We can get it printed and get it to you.
Then let's do that. We'll move it to the end. And then the next order of business is old business with conciliation agreement update.
We met today, and I'm going to just say a couple words, and then I'm going to give it to Ashley. At your direction, we did send a letter to them, and we sent it all to you too of what we sent. We're coming up again on another date that is causing a bit of concern, January 6th. So we met today. No decision has been made whether or not we're going to have to amend the agreement because the date has not technically been violated, but we began talks today about what that might look like. Ashley, you want to provide anything else to that?
Can we talk about the substance of where we are?
Yeah.
So the main sort of number of the conciliation agreement that we're like living in and doing right now is number 7, which is about community engagement. And so what the agreement requires is that Metro Arts and MHRC will collaborate on a robust community engagement plan. Community engagement will be done, and that the Arts Commission will consider the feedback that they receive from community in the development of their new grant guidelines. And so that's sort of where we are right now. The Arts Commission is considering a number of grant policies. They have a commission meeting this Thursday, and they have a grants and funding committee meeting this Thursday. We've expressed concerns both at their most recent meetings as well as directly to staff and commissioners as recent as today about some of our, I don't know, misgivings is not the right, what's the word I'm looking for? Some of our concerns about whether community feedback is being incorporated, whether they kind of have a grasp on the policies that are being put before the commission. And so we have some steps that we're taking that we believe are important to result in good policy. And just continue to make it clear that like our goal is to see this agreement fully satisfied and to not have things arbitrarily or haphazardly done that also violate the spirit of the agreement. So for example, it was made known in a commission meeting last week that mural projects will no longer be part of Thrive under the staff's recommended policy changes. And if you remember, muralists were some of the impacted artists who we really had to fight for until the end to be part of the payments that were authorized. And so there's not been any at all explanation to the public, to the impacted applicants, or to us about why muralists were taken out, for example. So I use that as an example of something that we feel like would violate or cause concern with the spirit of the agreement when changes are being done kind of like that. There's other examples that I could name, but it gets kind of in the weeds. And so we've made our concerns known in writing. We've made our concerns known to commissioners, and we have commissioners who arts commissioners who continue to contact us. I've talked to, they go on more than one hands if I try to count the number of arts commissioners who have reached out to me. I have a meeting with one of them tomorrow. And so we know that they really want to know what MHRC thinks about the policies before them, and they want to know our opinion, and we've made it clear that our opinion will be shared. And we've also made it clear that there is opportunity to create good policy here. And so I think everybody has said what needs to be said, and so that's my update. Did any of that make sense? Questions?
Yes, I have a quick question.
Yes.
So I was just curious, you said there hasn't been any response.
So communications have improved in the last week. After sending the letter, summarizing you all's discussion last month, and then me standing before the Arts Commission again last week and pretty directly saying, we send inquiries that do not get answered. I have reason to believe the same thing happens to some community members as well when they try to get in touch with arts staff who are over the grants program. And so communication has improved in the last week after we kind of had to say the things that I am saying right now, which will be preserved on Metro YouTube. And so yeah, like David said, we had a very long and detailed discussion today. The details we're not going to go into here.
Sure.
But yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for all your work.
A question, Chairman, Mayor. So are we in position to recommend, or maybe we have already, that the Arts Commission just get help with grant processing? Hire somebody, hire a contractor, use a sister agency or something. It seems like they're, from what I'm hearing, just overwhelmed with the intricacies of the process. Can they get help?
Well, we have offered help. I don't know whether I would totally categorize it your way, but we have offered help time and time again. And contextually, there are other parts of the agreement, all of which have been met. We did a final review of the handbook that legal was to do for all boards and commissions. And I think it's a great document. I think we have all agreed that it's a good document that's going to be helpful. The apparatus for the allocation and criteria to go back before the council, that has already been done. So all the elements of the agreement, except in the area as it relates to arts, has been complied with, and complied with in a way that we would say is very satisfactory. So we're still pushing. We're not going to back off of the contents of the agreement. And so as part of us keeping you abreast, I would not want to come in here one day, and I hope that there will not be the day we come in here and say, well, we feel like there's a breach, and then you all say, well, you never said anything and we didn't know. So, but we are managing it, and it's not at a point where we think it is unmanageable that we need to take an extraordinary action of actually saying that the agreement has been breached. But yes, we have offered, and we offered again today, even suggestions of how to really rectify. To Ashley's point, I'll be a bit more emphatic about the muralist. It's the last hired, first fired syndrome for me as it relates to muralist. They were the last ones in, and they're the first ones that are put out. And I think that there needs to be, as we talk about what equity looks like across the arts ecosystem, there needs to be a real explanation of why that makes sense. And so we voiced, and we continually voice, all of these concerns. And again, these deadlines are looming, and we've been adamant that we're not going to make a yes decision to meet a deadline, and it turns out to be bad policy.
Okay, and since I think I missed last month, so if it's like this is a long story, I can just go to an executive meeting and figure it out. But I'm confused about staff resistance towards muralist. And if that's just minutia and uninteresting, we don't have to talk about it. But, you know, I remember that meeting we were in, the beginning of all this, where they have allocated, and I know of several recipients of large grants from the Arts Commission for murals. It was like a whole separate thing that they do, you know, up to, I mean, thousands of dollars for murals. So it seems a little odd to me because that is part of the culture, or at least, you know, something that they've really put in a lot of, I mean, I know some great recipients of that work, of that money to do great work. So that's what I'm confused about. Do they just not like the small ones, the ones that are up and coming?
Well, I think instead of me trying to answer for them, and I would dare not, whatever answer was given that was part of the Arts Commission meeting that you can go look at did not answer sufficiently for me of why they would be excluded from the process. So, again, we are offering our help, Commissioner. And we'll continue.
So, beyond those three public community engagement, sessions that they had, where they didn't seem to have a lot of answers, you said that they gathered a lot of public input. Did they do something beyond those three sessions that they didn't seem terribly prepared for?
So the three sessions that Commissioner Teague is referring to on November 6th, 7th, and 8th, Metro Arts staff led some, I would call them information sessions, where they had some proposals for operating grant allocations of how are we going to distribute the funding this year. When I say we, I mean them. And for Thrive, some information given about Thrive. And so those meetings were held. I know that some staff were tasked with compiling all of the specific questions that community members or comments that were asked by community members. And I know that that information was shared with the commission. I also obtained a copy of it myself. What has been done beyond that is the big question mark to us, and that we are certainly asking and making clear our expectation is that considering community engagement means considering it. And so how does the information gleaned from those sessions inform the policy, the staff recommendation policies? And then, of course, the bigger point is that those sessions were rushed. You all talked about that at length at our last meeting. And so I think there is a valid concern of taking, you know, any anecdotal statements that might have been made in those rushed meetings as a reason to overhaul anything. And so those were the engagement sessions. And so yeah, we don't have clarity on sort of what did they do with the information, how did it inform their decisions. And also we continue to ask, like, connect this to the bigger work that was done in past years, where there was thorough community engagement, where dozens and dozens and dozens of community members involved and participated at different levels, some of those deeper levels being actually co-creating the grant policies, right? Because community engagement is a spectrum. Over on one end of the spectrum, I might just be telling you something, and then on the other end of the spectrum, like, we are co-creating something together where we share authority and power and decision-making processes, right? And so the sessions that Commissioner, you attended were definitely on the, like, I'm telling you information side of that spectrum. And so we are definitely continuing to voice our opinion that, like, there's good stuff there and that they don't need to radically change what was done in the past. And art staff had put together a survey that I learned about because somebody sent it to me. I have a lot of concerns with the survey that I expressed directly to the staff. That wasn't really, didn't really form questions in a way that I think would produce a lot of helpful data. But I'm not sure that they're getting a lot from the survey or what they're doing with it. I haven't seen the information that was collected through the survey, but that is what they are doing for community engagement as I understand it.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you for that insight, as well as your ongoing voice, presence, feedback in the variety of spaces. As I continue to watch the variety of both main meetings and sub-meetings of the Arts Council, a matter that we discussed a fair amount at our last meeting continues to roll through my head as I watch the various meetings of the Arts Council about the limits that we have, quite justifiably, in being able to sort out the specific on-the-ground problems within another, commission, another agency, another department. And yet, as I watch the variety of meetings, the co-part that you were just discussing, whether that's co-creating with community artists, whether that's collaborating with their own commission, those tensions, I don't feel like I'm saying anything that's hidden at this point. They were on full display within the funding and grants meeting that went on for 2.5 hours until they lost quorum because people started simply leaving the meeting. And those tensions were just absolutely palpable, even on a tiny phone screen that I was watching at my desk. I give all this preface to ask for all of the hope and consistent work that you and the rest of the staff have put in on this. As you have continued to move forward, what is your assessment of work, of how able the various bodies are, the various interested parties, the various necessary parties on the art side, how ready they are to work together in these co-ways to be able to further the terms of the conciliation agreement. It seems like we may have good documents, we may have an agreement that everybody came to the table on, but I'm growing increasingly concerned that the various bodies, the various parties are not able to sort out their own stuff well enough to be able to move forward in a constructive way. And just trying to get a sense of what you all's feeling about that is as you've had to continue to deal with this.
Well, again, there's only one non-compliant party. The other two parties being MHRC and Metro Legal have all fulfilled what our parts of that is. And I sense that there's a commitment to do everything to ensure that arts does also. But to your point, to me, the way in which it was done that resulted in the contesting of the July to August is already there. That, to me, is the easiest way. Is follow that same format, those same guidelines, that same criteria that led to the July vote. And because it has the supporting community engagement, it has all of that stuff that is not old, that is attached to it. That to me is a quick way, but I also think it's a way that a lot of people in the community would understand and also know that they took part in creating that. Commissioner Leverwich presented a proposal that I think will be considered on Thursday, which models that previous work, which builds on that previous work. So I'm not that concerned yet, but to your point, we're not going to just, I mean, we do have remedies available to us that I don't think will be necessary to resolve this. I still feel that way. And I know that probably sounds like I was driving around circuitously trying to answer your question. Because again, I don't want to sound like I'm impinging upon an individual or a department for that matter, because most of it is that we're talking about is public. So there are folk who are working, I believe, collaboratively to get this thing done. We're just missing the part of the commission per se, and to their excuse, they have a bunch of new commissioners too. The new chair did have us over at their last meeting. We were on the agenda. We didn't have to give the normal public comments to even address the body. So I think we're going to get there. I don't know what it'll look like. I don't know whether it'll be a big bump in the road, but I think we went through too much to get to this point and back up one iota off of the contents of this agreement. And if we feel like that, we will come back before this body and ask you all to vote in support of us pursuing whatever mechanisms we have available to force the whatever. But to your point, Commissioner Johnson, I don't think we're quite there yet.
No, I appreciate that. And what I hear is what I was trying to voice myself, which is both a generosity of hope and appropriate level of concern, right? And how to balance those two things. So thank you for that, Director Tucker.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Thank you, Edie Tucker, and thank you, Ashley, for the updates. We will continue to see how this unfolds, particularly this Thursday, and thank you to Commissioner T for attending the public events, and Ashley for continuing with the communication and attending all these events. Let me go ahead and we have quorum, and let me go ahead and officially start the meeting. Pursuant to the provisions of 2.68.030, the Metropolitan Code of Laws, please take notice that decisions of the Metro Human Relations Commission may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law of writ curatoria. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the commission. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. I am confirming quorum. I don't see any public comments. I don't think we have minutes to approve this time, so I think we're going to push them to next month. Edie Tucker, you want to, I know we have the financial update that was just printed out. Shall we go over that very quickly?
Yes, if you notice on there, again, from month to month, it moves month to month so that you can see the categories in which we're spending from. Our number one expenditure is around salary-based expenses. And so you'll see that if the other line items would have to do with programming and stuff like that. We have a really not difficult budget in that we're kind of set on, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what we can do with a little bit of money that we do have.
Yes. Commissioner
I'm
Abufazi.
always the ones to talk about budget. All I care about usually is burn rate. So I'm seeing that to keep up and spend this by July, we're gonna have to increase our monthly burn. So just wondering about that.
What do you mean?
I don't know if you lose it, but so right now you're at 329. I'm bad at math, but generally if we go 6 more months to July, you will not have spent $1 million by then at this rate. So I'm just wondering what you think about that.
Well, some of that, a significant part of that is in salary savings.
Also, this doesn't include December numbers, so this is only 5 months. So still, I understand your concern. I understand your concern, but this is only 5 months.
Well, this expends monies, it lists the monies that are available to us. Right now, all of what we have, particularly as it relates to around the anti-hate campaign and some of the other initiatives, we feel that we're going to spend this money. And the portions that will be available will be primarily in salary savings for having fully funded positions for an entire fiscal year, that for any part that the position was not filled creates a salary savings in which we can attempt to move people around, move that money around, yes. And also, we are still working on we got the approval for the reclassification of our staff positions, but that has not actually taken place yet. We're still working with that now. Oh, well, we were reclassifying some of our existing staff. No, that has not happened yet. But that's not unique to us. I think that's an overarching Metro thing also, but then we had to submit some additional paperwork. All that is moving, and
Okay, so last question. So when it's slow based on other factors, we get to retain that money even if July comes around by making a request or in writing or something like that.
yes, well, we actually meet. We have a finance point person with finance, and we'll meet with that person, and then if need be, they bring in one of their superiors, and we make those changes on this master Excel sheet that this person is able to change the allocations within our department.
Yes.
Are there open positions now?
Yes.
Okay. So that explains why the salary line item is going up and down. Okay.
Any other questions about the budget? Okay, thank you. Next order of business is the Friendsgiving event, which I think rolls in right, transitions us to the No Hate campaign as well.
Okay, and Chair, if I could bring up one thing prior to that in the old business, violence interruption.
Please.
We are backing out of this at this point, and the reason is we'll let Matthew share just a little bit, and we are preparing a response to Metro Legal's opinion for long-term impact. But as it relates to this particular project, we've decided to pass on this. Matthew.
Excuse me. So Metro Legal's concerns with the MHRC administering or awarding grants are twofold. One, the MHRC doesn't have the authority under the Metro Code to administer or award grants. But secondly, in order for the MHRC to actually carry out its primary functions, which are to investigate complaints of discrimination and hold hearings regarding complaints of discrimination, if the MHRC is awarding grants or administering grants, it presents a conflict for it to be able to carry out those duties, because there could be an applicant for a grant who doesn't get funding, who may make a complaint of discrimination against the MHRC, and in that event, the MHRC would not be able to impartially investigate it. Or if it was a grantee who had received funding and maybe had a complaint regarding how the funds were administered. Or because the MHRC also has the duty to investigate complaints of discrimination by contractors of Metro, if there was a complaint against a grantee for its conduct, that could also present a potential conflict of interest. So based on those concerns, it's legal's recommendation that the MHRC not administer or award grant funding.
Will somebody else be administering or awarding violence interruption grant funding?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. The mayor just established by executive order the Office of Youth and Public Safety, Metro Health Department has also been involved in some of that. So yes, that work there was continued to go on, and we're preparing a more point-by-point answer to them, because I do think there's some long-term impact and there's some space and room to get a little bit farther clarity. But in the short term, since this money's here, are time sensitive, and we were not going to rush and speed through to meet that and not feel comfortable about the product or the service that we propose to deliver. So.
Thank you, Edie Tucker. Thank you, Attorney Matt. Are we ready to move on to Friendsgiving update?
Again, you took a lot of it.
Oh, sorry. I was so grateful. I'm just saying, you would.
Staff was excellent. It was an excellent event. We've gotten multiple emails and texts around the event. Even from the event, one of the goals is to build a list of community organizations and communities of faith that would partner with us along certain initiatives that will be part of it. But as a launching event, I thought it was pretty well. I thought the food was great. I thought the crowd was good. Appreciate all the commissioners who came out and gave their time to be in the midst. I thought it was good work. But as we continue to move this out, we've talked a little bit about the No Hate on My Plate initiative, which is to get community orgs and religious organizations of all stripes to host these smaller, intimate communal meals that would be guided around not necessarily getting into why you hate me or why I hate you, but finding commonalities, things that would dissuade hate and make hate a little bit harder. And again, I think that's why using Randy Rayburn, for anybody that knew him, knew he was just a hospitable guy. And in my comments, I said that, you can't be hatefully hospitable. It just doesn't go together. Hospitality does not lend itself well for hate. So just being able to use that as we've moved on, we got several good contacts. But as we continue to move this out, we're looking at how can we receive and track acts of hate, categorize them, panel discussions, even using some of the Just Conversations format to have conversations around it. And we also have a list of upcoming press activities. One, I think, is tomorrow with Channel 5, and then we have a couple of This is Nashville, the deep dish platform, and others that we're going to try to strategically use to our benefit as we move along. So we're building this as we go. So as we add something else, we will let you know, but we're actually trying to build this as we go. It was getting to the point of all the discussion and the ways of running it down the rabbit hole. We just wasn't coming to what was going to be a plan. So I made an executive decision that we would all jump off of the roof, and we're going to make it work, because I think it's just that important.
It is timely and it did work. So thank you. And thank you to all the Metro Council members who showed up as well. So Metro Council member Berkeley Allen, Terry Vaughn, Coopin, and
Vice Mayor
Henderson.
Zolfat.
Sora was there, so that was spectacular. So thank you to all those Metro officials who came. We are now moving to committee updates. The executive committee, we will continue to look and talk about Title VI and our buckets for as we move on, and we'll get back to you further. But I think the bylaws committee has a substantial update. Commissioner Schauber.
Yes, we made a lot of progress at our last bylaws committee meeting on November 15th. Again, the bylaws committee is myself, Commissioners Johnson and McKinney. And we came to a point where we feel we are ready to proceed with recommendations on some changes, not to our bylaws, but to our rules and procedures. When we reviewed our bylaws, we felt that the bylaws were in good shape and sufficient for the commission's activities. But in looking at the rules and procedures, we saw the need for some changes. So the changes have been passed out to you. I believe purpose of this meeting is just me to give some general comments about the bylaws. For next steps, unless there's any comment or feedback today, I believe we anticipated asking Metro Legal to provide any feedback it may have to the proposed changes. If Metro Legal has no proposed changes at our next meeting, we can either deliberate the changes to the rules and procedures, or potentially we can take a vote to pass the revised rules and procedures. Just as a general overview, we felt that one of the biggest changes to the rules and procedures that was needed, the first few sections were actually a restatement of things that are already contained in our bylaws. So we deleted all of those sections and made this document truly applicable to rules and procedures for any complaints filed with the commission. I'll just highlight maybe two things in these rules and procedures and stop there and turn it over to Commissioners Johnson and McKinney if they have any comments. The two biggest things that we tried to work through with the rules and procedures changes are, one, aligning them to the commission's rights and powers under Metro Code, and also using some of the things we learned through the arts complaint and implementing those things into the rules and procedures. The last thing that I'll note is kind of a general overview is that we also attempted to clean up some of the processes related to filing the complaint, the respondent responding to the complaint, the determination of probable cause that comes from the commission staff, creating the hearing committee, and then the final resolution of a complaint. So I'll turn it over to Commissioners McKinney and Johnson if they have any comments. Also want to thank them very much for their work on this committee and also the commission staff with assisting us with all the changes.
I want to thank you, Charles, for kind of leading the effort with this committee. The only one comment I have, and it's just a comment, is that I learned quite a bit about as we worked our way through the process, sort of where the commission's authority is, with respect to complaints and specifically hearings. And I would suggest as you sort of read through it, and if you have questions the same way I did about you know, where is our enforcement authority, or, you know, where is, you know, sort of what is the end game for, you know, for a hearing or the complaint process? You know, who enforces the rules if you ever get to that point? I would only suggest to the committee that there are places for full transparency where we tried not to be completely specific about what that authority is, you know, or what those outcomes might be, or who might be responsible for enforcement in those cases, in order to give the process and the commission, you know, enough room and enough space, you know, to sort of see through you know, each and every complaint on its own merits, and let it land wherever it needs to. So, you know, to that point, if you kind of thinking the same way I did as we read through the rules, well, you know, when you get to the end of this, is it HR? Is it Metro Legal? Is the commission? Who enforces this stuff? And you may or may not find specific answers in the draft, and I would only suggest to you that is intentional at this point.
Commissioner Johnson.
I mean, Miriam, did you have a question to what Charles was saying? Okay. Okay. If I may, so we can get to that question, I'll just second what my good colleague to the right said. It was certainly the guidance of Commissioner Traubert with the experience prior to coming onto the commission with the arts complaint was very helpful. And to buttress what was just said, while that situation we continue to talk about today, that reinforces the range, the flexibility that's needed within the process if the end game is to get to a place of conciliation most frequently. We need to leave as much room within the process to be able to meet what the conciliation needs are of situations that might come before us in the future. So cleaning it up so that it doesn't seem overly punctilious, I guess, to be able to give folks the room that they need, to give the staff and others the room that they need to be able to come to the best possible conciliation agreements. That was a really helpful learning process through this, that for all the challenges that the arts agreement has created, it has also created real learning opportunities and improvement opportunities for us, and we tried to work within that light. So appreciation to Chair and colleagues on the subcommittee for helping make that happen.
Thank you to the committee. There's a lot of red for us to process here in the document. It might take us until the next year calendar year to do so. Commissioner Abolfazi.
Just two things in the red that I saw. Just two. I'm used to, yeah. I was raised in this red, so it's a very comfortable place for me. It says you got to go to the office to file the complaint. Is that correct? Shall be filed at a appropriate time. Commission's office on the forms provided. Page 8, filing 4.21 or something. The bottom. Thank you. So is that true? And if so, I thought you could file it on the website or something like that. So just to flag, y'all can figure this out later, but just to flag that. And then the second that stood out to me, obviously, yeah, I think Commissioner Tran's right, we can go through all this, is learning from our experience with all these complaints of late. There's two things I'm wondering is there's this part where you come, upon filing the complaint, Commission's page 10, 4.23, upon filing the complaint, Commission staff assigned by the executive director shall meet with the party filing the complaint, like an Ashley, and discuss the right to be represented by an attorney, whether the facts are a violation of the jurisdiction, relief with. So what comes up for me here is it feels like we need to also let them know what is possible and what to be like expectations. Because that is something we've run up against, right? Especially in negotiations periods. Like, you're not coming here just like the sky's gonna open up and all the things are gonna fall out of it type of thing. So I don't know if you need to write that down, but it felt like, I think you do that, but just being crystal clear from the get-go that X, Y, and Z is possible.
So can I suggest that you list what you see right now, and then we all as a body take this in?
And then just deal with
just
it
go
later.
through it all at once, because for us to deliberate piecemeal is
Yeah.
going to be, so.
So that, and then, there was one other that I was trying to do by memory. Oh, I see that on page 11, 4.2.4, within 10 days was taken out, which I love, and I understand that that's probably nowhere else, I hope, because that doesn't give you a ton of time. ED, yeah, he's nodding, yeah, ED and others to respond and decide all this. The big thing that comes up for me is there was an informality that allowed you to sometimes mediate things a little bit. Right now you have to send a formal thing to the respondent and then wait for the respondent to and like a proper investigation. And so I just want to be cognizant that might remove some of the, I'm going to pick up the phone and just say, hey, we gotten word of this thing, I don't know. So
Well, I would say fundamentally, that hadn't really changed in practice. We still had to notify the respondents before.
you did, in writing and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
And then in the other documents, this word conciliation comes up continually. I mean, even on the federal level, that's the way in which we go at it, is we don't want to have to have a public hearing. We would, because if there's a cause that really does not meet the level of a claim to us, then we also tell that complainant that also, and we give them what their options are and where they can go to. So we believe that if we think that there is something there, that we're trying to fix it as we're moving through these processes also.
Okay.
Yes.
Speaking as someone who does not speak Redlinese as fluently as some people here might, how long do we have to look over this before we need to vote on it, and what would be the best way?
Next meeting, next
Okay,
month.
and what's the best way to submit our comments?
Yeah.
Is it to hold them until the
We
next
were
one?
just talking about, we cannot communicate directly with
Right.
the committee, but we can communicate with staff.
Okay.
Anyone on staff? Is there anybody in particular?
He wants it.
Yes,
Attorney Daniel Yoon.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Sounds like a show.
Thank you.
Yes, and
As a-
also-
and just as a new commissioner, I'm asking, because
Yes.
I have no idea. And I think the other thing that would be really helpful for me, as I was not as fortunate as Commissioner Johnson to sit on the bylaws committee, is maybe, is there like a yellow arrow pointing at, like, this was a big change that we made? Okay, but you know what I'm asking? Like, that would probably be helpful. Like places where there was something fundamentally changed, it would be great to know what those are.
So I wouldn't say there were any huge fundamental changes. They were more changes, as Commissioner McKinney spoke to, and then Commissioner Johnson reinforced, changes to be maybe a little less specific in certain areas to give us some room to navigate through the process, but ultimately always reverting back to the Metro Code as the guide to our ultimate authority and power. And to Commissioner Alba-Fazi's comment on the staff meeting with the complainant and being upfront with them about the outcomes, part of that, and it's in here, but I think part of what will always be communicated is we only have the power specified in the Metro Code, which outlines what we can do in these discrimination cases. There appears to be some, at least from my reading, some different power when it comes to discrimination cases related to housing versus general discrimination cases. But ultimately, the power is still somewhat not define and allowing us the authority to do or force people to do anything. So that obviously can't change unless there's legislative action. But in terms of what we have the ability to do, we can make statements, ask parties to enter into conciliation agreements, and then those conciliation agreements can be enforced, which we're learning and going through some bumps in the road now with arts. But ultimately, that's gonna be, I think, the only guide that we can provide to complainants. And outside of that, that if they want some other legal remedy, then they should consult with an attorney.
Not exactly yellow arrow speak, but I think we got it.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, to say, I think something that all of us, newer and more seasoned, that were on this subcommittee, really had to think through a lot and have talked a lot about is how to maximize our ability to act within what we're empowered to do, but also finding through the process where a better understanding of where those limits are. I will not add the editorial word of frustration about where those limits are, given the broad scope of what we are asked to do, but at least trying to maximize what we felt we could do within this body, given the charge, given the code that we've been given thus far.
Thank you. Again, thank you to the committee for this heavy lifting. E.D. Tucker?
Yes, I just want to echo that. Also, that I appreciate the commissioners who took part in this. We've been talking about this for quite some time. And for it to come to fruition and get it to this point, I just say thank you for putting in time with the executive, with the committee meetings and the additional time that it took, that we appreciate it. And just for clarity, Daniel is our Title VI coordinator. Ashley will be finishing out this arts case. And next time up, Daniel is that guy. And I just wanted to make that because we need some research work too.
Yes.
That we need to turn quick attention to.
Yes.
Also.
So in terms of procedure, I think first we should email this to everyone, especially to the commissioners who are not here right now, for them to see. And commissioners, if you do have comments, please email them to Attorney Daniel Yoon so that he can relay them to the committee, so that they can deliberate, so that in terms of efficiency at the next meeting, they already know the concerns, address them. We say yay or nay, deliberate. Did you want to say something? Oh, please.
I think that if you have comments as you read through this very extensive list of changes, y'all could even send me those thoughts and comments and feedback. If there's a crisis point, if 7 out of all are saying the same thing, we could even do a brief presentation prior to the vote. That way we kind of catch all those who can't attend the meeting or didn't attend this one and didn't hear some of the excellent conversation that was had. And I did want to comment, there's a second sort of shadow change that's we hope to have soon that Mr. Garth's helping us out on because he's been so helpful with everything else. He's been very, very busy for us related to the bylaws, and that would come up for a vote as well, related to quorum and maybe making it more possible to do the math. And also when people either step off or resign or there's a vacancy, letting that also affect so he can, I think y'all know the resolution process takes more than one meeting, but he's going to begin that process, and then that can come to us for a vote as well.
Yes.
I just have one more comment on the changes to the rules and procedures, because I would do a disservice if I didn't also say that Commissioner Erwin Vinnick had a huge hand in drafting or revising these rules and procedures. So if he's out there watching, big thank you to him.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Vinnick.
Also, sorry, Commissioner Trent, just to let y'all know, I know it's daunting, but the last 10 pages are all of these edits, so you can just throw them in the trash, just to make it feel lighter.
We'd like to encourage everyone to recycle those pages.
Yeah, sorry, thank you, recycle.
Thank you all. Okay, Are there community engagement announcements?
Yes, there are. So we have the Phyla Awards happening this Friday for all of those that were able to vote and do that. Those awardees will be awarded this Friday at the local food summit, which is happening at the Austin P University at 5:30 p.m. We'll send you a link. There are tickets, so you do have to reserve your tickets. It is a very nice dinner, so I do recommend you go and join for the Phyla Awards. So this Friday is that, and then next Tuesday, December 10th, is the Human Rights Day. For those of you that have attended the award ceremony in the past, we honor specific community members. This year, the Lifetime Achievement will be going to Brenda Morrow. The Outstanding Service Award will be going to Dr. Julie Dushin and Dr. Paul Juarez. And the Rising Advocate Award will be going to Judith Clerjune, Justin Munoz, and Stephanie Watson. So that'll be next Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. We will be at First Baptist Capitol Hill, and we'll have amazing food as always. So please place it in your calendars. You can let us know if you'd like to register, or we'll send you that link in the email. And then last but not least, I know we're in 2024, but we have to look at 2025. Go ahead and start filling in your calendars for MLK Day weekend. Just a reminder that the gala tickets are on sale, so if you are looking to attend, those do sell out. So we please ask you to think about the gala. Otherwise, it is a week full of events. The MHRC, we are responsible and happy to host Community Banner Day, which is Thursday, January 16th is our Community Banner Day. We create community banners that people can take for the march on the 20th. And then Crystal and I are also working on the Youth Symposium, which will be happening at MLK High School on January 18th, Saturday. If you'd like to volunteer and help out and spend some time with young people, you may let us know. And then, of course, as always, we have the huge march, and then we have a ceremony and guest speakers, on January 20th itself. So please mark your calendars. There's a lot of other things like the labor breakfast, the women in faith speeches that happen. So we'll send out that full list of events as it happens, but we want to go ahead and get you marked in your calendars as we approach 2025. And that is all. Happy holidays. We hope everyone is enjoying the holidays with their families in whichever way that you celebrate. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. And if you weren't at the Friendsgiving, Kathy is an excellent MC. Full command of the stage at all times. Thank you. So it's time to adjourn. Yes, announcements, I'm sorry.
So sorry. I just want to make sure that everyone has in their calendar that, as I understand it right now, February 10th is when we're doing our MHRC 60th anniversary.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So I just want to make sure we've got that, everybody has that in their calendar, because we want to celebrate 60th anniversary is a big deal, and the team is working, we're getting through the process of figuring out how to be really wonderfully celebrating us. Thanks.
Thank you. We forgot to add the party committee onto the agenda, but we will do that next time. Thank you. Happy holidays to everyone, and we will see you on the other side of 2025. And I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I move to adjourn.
I hereby adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.